Live
that was
action.
a little unexpected. Anyways, so, well, hold on. Shoot. Okay. Welcome to Snap, Tackle, and Talk. This is the first episode where we don't have active football games going on, but we are going to break down all the new coaches and we're going to grade them just like you used to get in school, A's to F's, next on Snap, Tackle, and Talk. Because all of us were prepared, right, Collin?
Yeah, 100%.
Kick it off, break it down, they're calling the play. Go to Ron debates, keep the night from the day. Some rise, some fall, on the charts they walk. But we'll keep tuning in to Snap, Tackle, and Talk.
Banger.
Huh. Okay.
Welcome to Snap, Tackle, and Talk.
Yeah, no,
Podcast better than
my
some and
computer's
worse than
acting all
others.
weird.
I'm your coach, Collin, Captain Houday, joined today by Dwight, the Hitman Couch, and John Flockman Reed.
It's Flockmaster or Flock Daddy.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to go that route. I mean,
The coach, Collin, Captain Houday.
you know, I just appreciate Colin's background today. It's so much
Right,
better than
it's
what he
very
normally
real.
has.
It's very authentic.
And it is, in fact, Bayball season, just so you all know.
Yeah, do you guys see the art up there? The complaints last year, I had nothing up there. I said, I'm going to put something on the screen. Do you appreciate the art?
I like it.
I see your awards. I can't tell what the other thing is exactly.
That is framed tickets to every 20th century Reds World Series game.
There you
Or
go.
the last 5 at least. It's 1990, 1970, is it 6 and 8, 1945, and 1919 maybe? It's trying to take us all.
You know, my favorite one is the third picture over there. It's a framed ticket of all the Super Bowls the Bengals have won.
Ooh, shots fired.
Oh, guys, how's it been, Collin? It's been 2 weeks since we got to see you here on the show. How has your time been since the Super Bowl? And were you happy with everything you saw there? And then we'll move on with relevant.
So let me tell you actually about my Super Bowl game experience. So I land in Sacramento on Super Bowl Sunday, and I'm going around. I check into my hotel, the Hilton Curio collection. I like those. They're always bespoke, different. You know, you don't want to land. You don't want to stay in the same place in every city. So it's a cool difference, and I like that specific place. So I get there, I'm happy. And there's a Yard House down the street. If you don't know what Yard House is, it's like a chain bar, restaurant. It's honestly some very good food and better happy hour deals. You can get a full-size pepperoni pizza for $9 during happy hour. Great deal. And it's a good pizza. It's an $18 pizza normally. It's a high-dollar pizza. It's a good deal. So I go to walk in the Yard House, and the bartenders there always are really nice, and they'll pour you free beers if you're there for work. Oh, where are you coming from? Oh, here, try this, try that. And, next thing you know, you paid for 2 and drank 8. It's great. It's like 3 o'clock, and it's still daylight out, and I can't even get into a bar. And I'm like, what is every bar I walk into? Oh, are you on the list? No. Oh, it's gonna be an hour and a half wait, dude. I want a Mick Ultra. Like, what do we do? I just want a beer to relax and go back to my room. Anyways, so I asked, like, what is going on? And they're like, it's the Super Bowl. It's like 3:30 at this point. It was an hour and a half till kickoff. I didn't realize this because it was on Pacific time. I've never once watched a Super Bowl during the daytime. And they're like, well, this is normal for us. So I ended up having to I love this Korean wing spot right by the hotel. I walked there, got my Korean wings. They're like Asian wings with, they're almost like cornstarch batter. So like really crispy and light. Very good. And I ended up going to the hotel bar, and I was the only one in there. And she was like, yeah, nobody comes to a hotel bar to watch Super Bowl. And I was like, thanks a lot, lady. But it was a really disappointing Super Bowl. I think it went, honestly, the way that everybody thought it would go. You could tell coming out there right from the rip, Dwight, that the Seahawks thought they were going to put up 40 points. And they did. At first, they're moving the ball. But then they got stopped on that field goal, and New England's defense kicked into high gear. And New England's defense, I thought, played a great game. But it's hard to win when your quarterback throws 2 interceptions in the Super Bowl and can't move the ball otherwise. And if you guys remember, one of the smartest guys on the podcast said something about KW3 being the key to victory for the Seahawks. No, I said one of the smartest guys, not baldest. So we were that was me, John. So anyways, I was glad to see him be the Super Bowl MVP because I believe what I said was if he has a strong game, they're going to win. And obviously, I don't think that was a hot take. I think a lot of people probably in the same boat. But it was cool to see. It was cool to see the Seahawks win one. Obviously, it brought back some nostalgia watching the Seahawks and Patriots in the Super Bowl. I've always grown up hearing that there's three things true in this world: death, taxes, and 85 is always open. But it turns out there's three things true in this world: death, taxes, and the Patriots are in the Super Bowl. It was a good game. It was a bad game, but it was cool to watch. It's kind of weird things repeat themselves, and you're looking right back at two potential dynasties. I think the Patriots were a year away from being a real contender this year. They made it all the way. I think it showed in the Super Bowl. I'm excited to watch them next year.
Yep, I agree with that.
John, how's your week been?
Can't complain. Same old, same old. Basketball team we did play our first tournament game, and we won. So we're moving on. Unfortunately, we're moving on to the number one overall team, so it's going to be tough. But first season head coaching, and already got a tournament win under my belt, boys.
Nice.
But other than that, it's been more of the same old, same old. How about you, Dwight?
It was a fantastic week. All the ice has started to really melt and get out of the way. I made it all the way through all that snow and ice without falling, only to the first day where it's completely gone and we get that little mist of rain, and then it dropped to like 27 or 26 overnight. So at 4 something or 5 o'clock the next morning, the Chihuahua's got to go outside. She's 19, so she has to be carried from her bed to the outside to potty. And here I am, 4 or 5 in the morning. I go out onto the porch. I make it to the very edge to set her down, and I bite it. My ankle's swollen up. Sat on my ankle. It was a very awkward fall. Really thought I broke something for about 15 minutes there. So that sucked. However, on basketball news. So Ava has been a cheerleader. This was her first season. And so the Bridgeport Tigers were the second to last team in the tournament. And everyone kind of expected that last Saturday was going to be the last set of games we would have to go through, which is the case for the girls team. However, the boys team managed to beat what I see as the number 1 or the number 2 team in the city there, pulled the upset and held out and beat them by 1, 25-24.
Wow. And
that gym got really loud. But the coolest part was to see all the cheerleaders. It finally clicked. It took to the last game of the year because they hadn't won a lot. So I don't know that they knew exactly what was going on. There was never a lot to get excited for. But in this game where it was so close and they knew that if they won, they got to move on. So they all got really into it. So it was really cool seeing all the cheerleaders, and the little light bulb goes off all over their head. And they're asking the coach, can we scream now? And she's like, yes, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be doing it all season.
So like, wait, so this is what winning feels like?
So it was really cool. Wendy had recorded the sound of the last 14 or 20 seconds or whatever. So you hear everything, but she didn't have any children's faces in it. So she had it down to the bleachers, but it was loud, and she shared it on her social media, and Bridgeport shared it to theirs. But it's really cool. So you hear the final seconds and you hear the crowd erupt when the buzzer hits, and Bridgeport won. So, and it was a home game. So there you go.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. The home field advantage really paid off. Or home
Right.
court advantage, I have to say.
So no, outside of that, just glad all the snow is gone. Ready to talk about some football, but I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the biggest elephant in the room right now, and that's the dismantling of the Miami Dolphins, and the fact that Tyreek Hill's on the market. I don't know how I feel about it. However, I do know my team is in the mix as a potential landing spot. A lot of people are saying Kansas City, I think, is the definite front runner to land Tyreek. So I think that's probably where he'll go. But man, I wouldn't mind having him on a 1 year, $10 million deal and just try it out. I mean, shit, what could it hurt for one season?
Yeah, dude, while you're at it, sign Jonathan Ross. Yeah, sign John Ross, man. He's fast. Do that.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I mean, Tyreek Hill's not the player he was 4 years ago. There's multiple reasons Dolphins are moving on, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I can't say that for sure. I mean, I haven't seen him play since this latest big injury, but I mean, it's a rough injury that he had, and with speed being the main component to his game, if he loses X amount of speed, that completely changes the dynamic of the player he is. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's wiry, he's tough, but he's also extremely small-bodied, so that speed is really vital for his success. I mean, I'd be down for giving it a go, but I ain't paying him no $10 million for a year. I mean, it'd be like trial run money. We'll see. Maybe some incentives thrown in there if he shows he's still got it. But, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, the truth is we don't know what he's got left in the tank for sure. So, new organization, he may look like Tyreek again. But he's not the only Dolphin, is he, Dwight?
He is not. He is not. A man drafted above Josh Allen. Bradley Chubb. Bradley Chubb was released as well from the Dolphins. Man, Bradley Chubb still got some gas in the tank. He's still pretty young. He's a solid player. He's not been a bust at any point in his career. So I mean, I don't know that we have a need for him, but man, somebody's going to get a nice pickup out there.
Yeah, that would be the Dolphins player that I would be more interested on joining my team. I think we could definitely benefit from some Bradley Chubb on the Ravens. He can still bring the pressure, and he's a solid upgrade from what we've had. And other news player-wise, beloved player retiring. Robert Woods is retiring. He had a solid run when he was on the Rams. I mean, he kind of fell off after the Rams, but when him and Kupp were on the Rams, I think that was the Super Bowl year that they beat you all, wasn't it, Collin?
Probably, yeah.
But yeah. Woods had it that year. I was impressed with him, but I guess he's hanging up the cleats. However, there's somebody else who is not hanging up the cleats, and that is the one and only Michael Evans. He will be coming back for 2026, boys. Is it going to be another 1,000-yard season? Probably not, but we'll see.
I saw Tim Tebow was eyeing to come back.
Oh my gosh!
What
positions they want to play this time?
Kicker,
fullback, kicker. Oh my gosh!
No, I did see. Was I thinking of some joke, or did I not see that the Dolphins are also planning on moving on from Tua?
No, they are moving on from Tua as well.
Yeah.
Of all the likely scenarios, that was the least likely in my mind. When they got rid of Mike McDaniel, I thought for sure that they were going to also keep Tua, like it was a one or the other thing. I was very shocked when they actually got rid of both.
I think that's a bad idea.
So inside,
no, I don't either. I didn't think that would happen. I thought it was like a one or the other. Like they were taking like a him or her. So just like pick one. And I was shocked that they got rid of both.
Well, let's. I wasn't quite ready for the segue, but let's segue into the coaching, because this is a perfect area, especially since we're going with fairly strong on Miami here. Let's start with Miami. Who wants to kick us off with Jeff Hafley and your grade on Hafley and what's going to go on in Miami?
All right. So Jeff Hafley for the so I'm going to do this in relation to how they fit with the team. Now, the grade I give them with the team they have could be better than I would give the coach by himself, or it could be worse. So there's some factoring in there. Jeff Hafley with the Dolphins, I'm going to put at a C-. he's a defensive coordinator, but unfortunately, the Dolphins, and it's iffy, but I think the Dolphins' defense is the stronger unit. The offense has talented players, but it's been so predicated on timing that if it doesn't work, it's awful. So I feel like they probably need an offensive-minded head coach. But their defense ain't really good either. So, I mean, especially getting rid of Bradley Chubb, that's going to hurt them. Let's see what I got here. This is his first head coaching gig, obviously. So that's going to put some strain on his grade there. He's good at defensive game planning and player relationships. But I don't know. And I don't want to jump into another coach right away. Let's just say other coaches are coming in, first-time coaches are coming into better situations. So when you're a first-time head coach and you have to rebuild everything, I mean, I'm sure it feels better for the coach, but your first handful of years probably aren't going to be super successful unless you just come out and prove, hey, I'm that guy, which Mike McDonald did it, but not many coaches do. So right. C- in my book for Jeff Hafley.
I think he's very different from Mike McDaniel too. Extremely different. He's a different head. I almost feel like it's a reactionary pick. I almost feel like he's not old. He's like, what, 45 or so? He's not an old guy. So, I mean, they're still going for a younger coach, but I feel like it's the opposite of the coin. And I almost feel like they went with the cool, maybe a stoner, like maybe, and we went with the other direction. Definitely a vapor, and I almost wonder if it was reactionary. And you're right. When I think Miami, I think of offense. And there's probably not a good reason for that. And look back at their coach or their quarterback. So, it's not.
I think there is, because when they were relevant, it was because their offense was good.
Sure, but I mean, like over time, I can't think of a ton of great Miami offenses that in my lifetime at least, I guess. And
yeah,
but I think it just fits well. I mean, the way that they are, the bright colors, it's just not something you see with a defensive-minded team. You think that's like, that's the team that's gonna be high flying, like Dwight. Who are the guys in WWE that have the look like rock stars and the Road Warrior and
the Road Warriors, Hawk
yeah,
and Animal,
yeah.
Or the Rockers.
Midnight the Rockers are who I'm thinking of. The Rockers are who I'm thinking of. So you come out with these.
It was Shawn Michaels, by the way. Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty were the Rockers.
John Michael Montgomery.
I think I'm cute.
No, Shawn Michaels.
I know I'm sexy. I got the looks.
John knows.
That drive the girls wild.
I got the moves. That really. So no, I just don't. I can't imagine a world where the Dolphins have I get it, but it doesn't fit what I think of them as. But I definitely think it's a reactionary pick. I don't know too much, like I said, about a lot of the reason that went into the hire. The Dolphins couldn't score last year. I don't know why you would think, we need a defensive guy. There are some fits that don't fit. Vrabel, obviously a great coach in New England, but he's not been. But he wasn't a good coach. Or they blamed him for the issues in Tennessee. When you don't have a strong core of offensive players, you need an offensive-minded head coach to overcome it. The issue with Vrabel in Tennessee is there was no strong core of offensive players. If there's no strong core of offensive players in Miami, which there's not anymore, Jalen Waddle barely makes the roster these days. But I mean, there's nobody left. I mean, Quinn Ewers and Jalen Waddle, is that the plan next year?
I mean, unless they go
for AJ Waddle might not even be there.
That's my point. So why hire a defensive head coach and rebuilding the entire offense?
Yeah.
I'd honestly say like a D. Like it's not anything I don't know anything about. I mean, I know he's obviously very successful as a defensive coordinator, but I don't know why you would go hire a defensive coordinator, no matter who Jeff Hafley is. Why would you go defensive on a team that needs offense so badly?
So I'm a lot more optimistic on this pick. I agree with John. This is definitely not This is not a next year or the year after the Dolphins are sniffing the playoffs. This is a much longer term build. It's a younger coach. Here's what I like. His defense brings somebody that likes to punch the ball out. We've seen how well that worked for Jacksonville. So we know that kind of defense can work immediately in this particular type of NFL. The guy's aware enough to know his weaknesses. So he brings in the assistant coach who's been in Washington, Bobby Slowick. He brought him in to run the offense. They got some cap. They got a few million available. I think a big benefit of having Halfley is who he could potentially bring with him, and that is Malik Willis. I think this lands the Dolphins as one of the top people to wind up getting Malik Willis this year. And I think that's huge for the Dolphins because I think he could be a really good fit down there as well. The predictive analytics on this say that they're going to get a plus 12% increase on turnover margin from where they were last year. I'm going to give this a solid B, not because they're going to look good next year, but in 3 years from now, 4 years from now, I think we're going to be talking how well Halfley has built a contending team for the playoffs out of the Miami Dolphins and the struggles and the mess they were in. Especially because they're going to deal with the cap hit that they're going to take on Tua. So he's got an uphill struggle. But obviously, if the owner's willing to do that and kind of back out of what he originally said, this guy had to kill it in the interview. Because, I mean, at one point, McDaniels was sitting in on these interviews. I wouldn't be shocked if McDaniels sat in on this when Halfley interviewed. Because that was at the timeline that he was sitting in on the interviews. And then something happened and they blew him out. So this guy had to knock it out of the park on the interview. And we know the Dolphins owner's a pretty loyal guy that I think he will stick with the coach a lot longer than a lot of other owners in the NFL. I give this a B for the Dolphins.
You know, I do worry for Malik Willis if he goes to the Dolphins. I mean, it's not bad for the Dolphins, but I'm afraid he finds himself in another Tennessee type situation. Now, don't get me wrong, Green Bay's wide receivers aren't like superstars, but they're at least consistent. And all of them, I feel like, have their days. Like one day this one will step up. The next day this one will step up. You know what I mean? They all play off of each other. But if you go to a team, especially if they get rid of Jalen Waddle, who is he going to throw the ball to? How long is he going to have Waller? You know what I mean? Like, is he even going to be back this year? You know, so I'd hate to see that talent that we saw in Green Bay go to another team like the Titans talent-wise, and then Malik Willis have the same kind of deal as he had in Tennessee. I'd like to see him continue to flourish like what we saw in Green Bay.
If you're Waller, why do you come back to a rebuilding team? You came out of retirement to compete. You put on, I mean, at least at the start of the year, a very strong showing. Why come back to a team that's not going to compete? For the love of the game? Like, I get it, but.
The money? How's Waller's bank account looking?
Yeah, that's the inside scoop we need.
All right, so if a team, let's see if we get an answer here. So if the Dolphins were to trade Waddle, they could expect a mid to late first round pick or a high second round pick and a starting wide receiver. That's not a bad deal for Miami if you're in a rebuild situation.
What are the picks they can receive for Jalen Waddle?
Either a mid to late first round pick or a high second round pick with a starting caliber player.
I don't believe that.
I wouldn't pay that much for one.
No, I don't believe that.
Yeah, I understand a lot of people wouldn't, and the Broncos wouldn't, but that's what the Dolphins were asking a little more than that last season. Yeah. I think they come down off their horse.
Well,
because otherwise he would have been in orange and blue last year.
He's a 6th
we were
round
aggressively wanting him.
He's a 6th round pick. He's a day 3 pick. You give a day 3
I would say late 4th, early 5th with maybe a third string wide receiver, maybe. But I just haven't seen that. Now, that might not be completely his fault. He may not have been schemed open. Tua just might not have seen him out there or seen 4 of him, you know what I mean? And not knowing which one to throw it to. So it may not be his fault, but I don't know. I would have to see old school Jalen Waddle to pay him or trade whatever, give him that kind of price for him.
Buffalo Bills are one that's rumored to be a high bidder. Pittsburgh, the Commanders, and then the Broncos. Those are the 4 teams that look to be in contention to trade for Waddle. Theoretical packages are looking a second round, and maybe a player. So,
yeah.
I mean, he's still young. I think that's what you're banking on with Waddle is he's only 27. So there's still a lot of potential there.
And a 4th round draft pick wide receiver is 22. What do you, I mean, how much more production are you getting from Jalen Waddle in his 5th year than a 4th round draft pick coming in the league? And the answer is not. I mean, you're not.
I think experience would count for a little. I mean, a 27-year-old is going to pick up things faster than a lot of 22-year-olds.
I mean, you do get
not always the case, but it generally is. You
do get an iconic touchdown move, if you do get him on your team.
There you go. You get something to look forward to in Madden. All right, so let's talk about something not to look forward to, and that would be coaching the Arizona Cardinals. Mm-hmm. That falls to Mike LaFleur. I'm not as big on this one. I'm going to give this a C-. I think there's probably a 30% chance that he's coaching in 2027 for the Arizona Cardinals. I don't understand what it here. This was more of like a kind of a Cleveland deal where the last man standing kind of got the job. Definitely not their first, second, or third, or fourth choice. So I just see this as a Band-Aid fix for another year or two, where they'll ultimately probably fire Mike and move on to someone else.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a good family tree. We'll start there. I mean, listen, another offensively minded coach. He's known for his creativity. Well, there goes Collin. He didn't want to have it anymore. But he's known for his creativity and player development, which are 2 key things. But again, like Halfley, he's finding himself in a situation where he's pretty much starting from scratch. I mean, a lot of decent players on that team are older players. I think they still got Calais Campbell. You know what I mean? He's one of the most productive defensive players. Like, there's no way that dude's playing past this year if he does. But like, he's probably the least experienced new head coach out of all of these coaches. Potential high risk, high reward situation, but again, it's going to take time and team building and development. This isn't something you're going to see overnight. So his success, I mean, you might be able to see it through the years, but you're not going to see major turnaround for, at least 3-4 years. And that's if he does things the way that they need to be done and he pans out to be a good head coach. This is probably going to be a D for me, just because of the lack of experience and the situation he's going into.
All right. So, there we go. Let's get Collin back in here.
There he is.
Hey, Collin.
All
right. So,
just in time for your thoughts.
Arizona, Mike LaFleur.
Well, he had a great run against Globo Gym. That was pretty impressive. No, I unless he has free reign to rebuild the roster, there's a lot of issues in Arizona, despite their tight end situation. I don't think Marvin Harrison Jr. is turning out the way they thought he would. Was it Trey McBride? Is he their tight end?
Yeah,
I thought it was. Breaking records left and right is great, and you bring in an offensive mind that has led the NFL's most efficient offense year in and year out for years and years and years and years, or at least 3 years. I guess it is just years and years and year. Anyways, he's led an efficient offense. Maybe he solves the Kyler Murray equation. But it has to be a good pick. He's a really strong football mind. He has success. Again, play calling, running offense is the highest level. I don't necessarily think it's a bad fit, I guess. I don't have more insight than that, unfortunately. Like I said, I told you before the show, the pick didn't strike me when I originally saw it as a bad pick, I should say.
So, do we think Kyler's going to be there still?
I think too much money invested in him, right? They gave him a huge contract.
I've heard a lot of whispers that they're going to move off of him, but new coaching staff, so who knows what's going to happen.
I tell you, I think moving forward, quarterback stuck with large cap hits, I think teams will be a little more freely moving on and losing some money versus being stuck in a situation for a couple of years. And mainly because Sean Payton did a great job showing that you can have a huge cap over your head for multiple years and still squeak out a decent enough team out of it. And I think that's why Miami, I think, will ultimately move on. I think you probably could see that in Arizona as well. I don't think Murray will be back next year.
Who takes his place?
Yeah, who knows? Wide open. Let's go from one Mike to another and talk about Pittsburgh and Mike McCarthy. Collin, what do you think about McCarthy?
Mike McCarthy had a very strong roster in Dallas and couldn't run an offense to save his life. Pittsburgh obviously went with Mike Tomlin too. This guy's respected. He's a name that's been around forever. But he's not respected. I thought it was I'm very happy about the hire, I will say. And John, you might feel the same boat. I'm very happy that Pittsburgh went with Mike McCarthy. I thought it was a terrible hire. They could have gone so many different ways. So many in an NFL setting, in an AFC North setting where guys are hiring head coaches that are young and head coaches that are changing the game and being creative on offense. You go with the same. You're going with your team identity, which I understand, but I don't think I didn't like the hire.
I'm not going to be that harsh. He has had success. He is a Super Bowl winner. He's a very intelligent veteran head coach with big game experience. Now, has he always had success? No. But he is going into a better situation than a lot of these teams. I'm going to give Mike McCarthy a solid B+. And it's not necessarily the match for me. It's the fact that he's not going into a complete dumpster fire. They really need to figure out their quarterback situation. And I hope for their sake it's not Aaron Rodgers. But, you got to give credit where credit's due. What hurts the most for this marriage is his age. This is not a typical Pittsburgh move. Pittsburgh's typically in it for longevity. It would have been more in their wheelhouse to find a younger head coach and groom them and make them be their head coach long term. That's not the way they chose to go. Most cases you see this happen, that's like a team you're thinking's like knocking at the door. I just don't see that with the Steelers. Their defense is aging and aging fast, and that is by far the best aspect of the team. It's not a bad coach, but he's not an upgrade to what they had. So I can't rate him any higher than a B+. He's just pretty much getting that for his history.
I feel like the owner maliciously listened to the fan base. He's, I'll move on from Mike Tomlin. All right, we'll move on from Mike Tomlin.
Well, they didn't even move on from Mike Tomlin. Moved on from the Steelers. He got tired of it.
I don't know if that was a you can resign conversation. I mean, I don't know. I figure it's probably more of that. I think there's mutual respect for Mike Tomlin and the organization. I would imagine that was a hey, you can resign or conversation. Though I'm not sure. It may have been totally on his head, but I think that it was time for a change at Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I'll give Mike McCarthy. I'll be right in the middle of you two. I'm going to go with a solid C. I think the biggest drawback here is you go from one to the other. I mean, like I told John when this first happened, you shit your pants, so you change your shirt. That's what this hire is. Nothing against McCarthy, but there's probably a 95% chance the Steelers are going to be 9-8 next year. And that's what it'll be. That's what they're hiring. They're not hiring someone that's going to come in and maybe boost him to 14-3. This is just a super, hey, we did the work, turn it into the teacher. Here's what we're going to go with. I like the fact that maybe he's got some ties in Pittsburgh. So maybe that has a little something there, but ultimately I don't think so. I think he was stifled in Dallas. Dallas would have been a lot better if Jerry Jones would have backed off and let him run the show. But that didn't happen, so we'll see what he can do now. I'll give him a C. I don't think Pittsburgh's the right spot.
I think he's more than likely to have an 8-9 record, Dwight, and not carry on that Tomlin trend. But, because that was the Tomlin effect, what got them there every year. I think what gets them wins is going to be more towards the beginning of next season, and it's just going to be the surprise factor. Like, hey, we're leaning a little more on offense now, versus our defense, and it's going to throw people for a loop until they get figured out. Then there's going to be nothing they can do because they're just not going to have the talent offensively to hang with a lot of these teams.
Very good. So let's go to another defensive team. John, you should have quite a bit to say about this one. We got the Cleveland Browns hiring Todd Monken. John, why don't you kick us off and tell us why this is a fantastic hire.
This will be a D+ for me. I have respect for Todd Monken. He's a good play caller. Don't get me wrong, and offensively he can do good things. And I see why they went offensive because they got a good defense. But I don't think Todd Monken is the guy to deal with that dumpster fire. Honestly, I don't think there's many people out there qualified to deal with that dumpster fire that they have that's called the Browns offense. I'm sorry, Browns fans watching this, but that's exactly what your offense is. It's a dumpster fire. You got this crazy roulette wheel of quarterbacks. Jerry Jeudy is your best wide receiver, and he doesn't show up half the time. Njoku's probably gone. He was a reliable pass catcher for all the veterans they cycled through. Monken's good, but he's not special. And it is going to take somebody special to change the culture of that team. And I don't think Monken's the guy. I don't have a lot bad to say about him, but the marriage there is just not going to work in my mind. So he is a D+ for me.
A guy who would have changed the culture. Jim Schwartz. No, he wouldn't have. And I understand Browns fans wanting to sign because they have history with him and stuff. But listen, they went with an offensive head coach. They needed the offense's help. They have 2 first-round picks this year, so maybe they go offense on that. But it's not a super strong draft class on the offensive side of the ball.
Jinkies.
Well, I left, came back, hope my computer didn't crash again. But it's not a super strong draft class. I don't know who's going to do this year, and the fans are totally uninspired. That's the biggest thing. You're hiring a 60-year-old head coach on a team that needed a youth movement. You get an exciting quarterback. You guys know what I think about Shedeur, but the fans really like him. The fans like watching him play. You get I don't know the guy's first name, but Ferris, the tight end. Dude's a monster. A freak of nature. you have a youth movement coming into the team, and you can inject more youth into the on team, and then you bring in a guy who's an old school 60-year-old head coach who has never had a head coaching opportunity in the NFL, who's been out of the NFL off and on, and even assistant coaching opportunities, and whose only head coaching experience comes from a lower tier Power 5 college program. I mean, it's not it's not an inspiring hire. It's not a very credible or qualified hire. And the worst part of it all is it was the only opportunity or only option they had outside of a couple guys like Jim Schwartz, who wouldn't have been inspiring either, because coaches were declining to interview with the Browns. That's the worst part. So the fans get as upset as they want, and I want to give it a D+ or so too. I mean, I don't think it was a good hire, but I'm not sure how many options the Browns had.
Yeah, I mean, you had coaches turning down head coaching positions to be OCs other places. That's how much they want to deal with that headache.
Right.
Well, if you're a coach, I mean, so outside of Shedeur as a player, which, you know, we have differing opinions, I think, in what he's going to be or what he's able to do, just the media aspect of it. Imagine being a head coach and deciding you're going to start Deshaun Watson because he's getting paid $40 million a year next year. The stuff that comes from that already is insane. And then having to explain to your fans why you won't start the 23-year-old that threw 6 touchdowns and 9 picks or whatever he threw last season. It shouldn't have to be next. Not saying Dylan Gabriel's better. His stats are better. But obviously Shedeur has the better arm talent. That's not a question. But you shouldn't have to justify starting Deshaun Watson. Yeah, he's a terrible guy, but he would have to, the head coach, so he's gonna have to get up on stage. He's gonna get up on stage, and he's gonna have to explain to everybody why he's not starting the 23-year-old that had a more interception and touchdown ratio. And that's crazy. The head coach should have to deal with that, and that's why they're not interviewing. That same reason the youth movement's fun to watch is the same reason they don't want to come to Cleveland, because Cleveland doesn't have the history and the success to say we know how to get things done from a culture to overcome that issue. So until that's solved, I mean, Cleveland's going to continue this situation. And I don't think it was a good hire. And I don't think it's going to lead to success, nor do I think it's inspiring or even exciting. So, yeah, D+. It wasn't, in my opinion, not a great hire, but who knows how many options they really had.
Yeah.
So I'll go with the C on this. The only reason being is because I think, given what Monken can do, at least for 2 seasons with the Browns defense, what it is, we might get some couple of pretty entertaining games out of this. He's considered an OC wizard. I'd like to see what he can do with him going there. I don't know that Shedeur's not the starter. I kind of thought that Shedeur would be kind of swept away after this season. I kind of expect Deshaun, but with Todd going there, I kind of feel like Shedeur might be what he wants. And maybe he just wants a couple-year experiment. I mean, predictive analytics say there's a 45 probability that they have a decent enough offense to compete compared to what they did last year. Now, that's a flip of a coin. You go out here and, yeah, okay, maybe they're going to be good, maybe they're not, but the defense was solid enough. I think the defense can continue to play like it is. I don't think they're going to win the division. I don't think they're probably still going to be last in the division.
Now,
but they might be entertaining.
Now, I could see it, but they would have to build, and it would require them spending some money, which I don't know how much they have right now or how much their ownership is willing to pay people. But I mean, if you put like an AJ Brown out there beside Jerry Jeudy, you're getting rid of Njoku. You pull in Isaiah Likely, who's probably going to be departing the Ravens. You know, like, if your quarterback, whoever it is, can play adequately, you might have a shot as long as he's got protection.
They have $2.3 million.
That's not a lot of money. They're going to have to get rid of some people and rework some cap space because they've got to get more offensive weapons.
Where the most of that money is sunk, John, they can't get rid of them.
So here's the real question for Monken, and I don't know anything about Schweitzer, but John, how long has Monken and Schweitzer worked together in Baltimore?
I mean, Monken's only been with Baltimore 3 years, I think. I might be wrong. 3, 2, or 3 or 4, something like that, in that range. So not super long.
So this kid, who Monken's bringing with him to be the coordinator, is considered a running game prodigy. So he's a running game specialist. It didn't show up much last year on Baltimore, but who knows who was pulling what strings and calling what calls. Now, the good thing you do have in Cleveland, and it's just like he said last year, this isn't Shador or Dylan Gabriel's team. This is my team. And I think what's the running back in Cleveland that they drafted? He was a rookie. I want to say Quintus, but I know that's not right. But I think it's got a Q in the name.
I want to say I keep wanting to say Samson, but I don't think it's Samson.
Samson is one of their running backs who had a couple of really good games, but they drafted a rookie who had a pretty good year. I think he got hurt for a couple games. However, if they design this to where it's going to be a strong defense and a super strong running game, Cleveland has a lot of that in place. Some really good draft picks on your offensive line. Your running game is going to be solid. Your defense will be solid. Maybe you won't be as bad as everybody thinks. Maybe this is a setup for future, and Monken's just there, kind of a bridge concept. So we'll see. I was more interested to see, who is it?
Quinshon Junkins.
Yes. I'd be more interested to see how the offensive coordinator in Cleveland does this year as a potential successor. If that's the line they're going with and having Monken there with his guy and kind of bringing him into the role, we could look back in several years and think, hey, Monken going to the Browns was the best thing for the franchise.
You know, just a little side note before we move on, since we were talking about running back coaches, did you all see who's going to be the Chiefs' new running back coach? DeMarcus Murray.
Oh, yeah, I did see that.
I think that's interesting.
That's cool. I for a Cowboy, he was okay.
Or DeMarco. It's not DeMarcus.
DeMarco Murray.
Yeah. But, yeah, throwback for the Cowboys.
All right, so let's move a little further south, head into the ATL. Atlanta got Stefanski. Collin, what do you think about Stefanski and the Falcons?
I like Stefanski. He was a victim of the culture in Cleveland. I mean, it's a curse. It's an absolute curse. Is Atlanta a better situation? Maybe not. Maybe they don't have but they have a young quarterback who's promising. They have a tight end who finally put together a decent season after 4 or 5 seasons in the NFL this year, who finally is living up to the hype maybe a little bit. Drake London's looked good in his time playing. You have Bijan in the backfield. The defensive side of the ball, I think, could use some work, definitely. But I like Stefanski as a coach. I think he's a good coach. I think he won games despite all odds in Cleveland. I think when they lost games, he had no talent on the field. But he also had talent on the field. And when he did, they won. They probably should have won 15 games instead of 10. But I wouldn't say it's a coaching issue. It was a clubhouse issue. And, yeah, it's because of the coaches. But in the Browns case, I don't know if it was. I think it's just –
I agree.
Cursed. I like Kevin Stefanski.
I think it's organizational. Yeah.
I've always liked Kevin Stefanski. It's a good signing. I like Kevin Stefanski.
Yeah, I don't dislike Kevin Stefanski. I'm going to give Stefanski, good Lord, Stefanski, that's a hard one to say, a solid B+. Although the defense has taken a step back from Cleveland, you've still got solid pieces. I mean, Collin knows one of them very well, Mr. Bates. But the offense has potential. Now, here's the question for you guys. Does Stefanski try to get Gabriel instead of Penix? Because Gabriel is Stefanski's guy. That would be interesting. I mean, I'm sure the Browns are ready to offload some quarterbacks. Why not? But, yeah, Stefanski is a very solid coach. I agree with Collin. You can't blame a lot of the woes in Cleveland on him. His first year, he was coach of the year there. And I mean, if you watch him, his game management skills are on par. You can't say that about a lot of coaches, even tenured head coaches. I don't know if they have some solid, team building going on there, and he gets some good help around him. I think he could have success in Atlanta.
I agree with pretty much everything y'all said. I'll give Stefanski a B- on the hire here. Definite upgrade over Raheem. He's a good system guy. I think Stefanski plays it a little bit safe in the fourth quarter. Atlanta, he's going to make Atlanta a very good, efficient team. And I think they're going to win at least 8 games. And I think their ceiling is getting bounced in, the divisional round. I just don't think it makes Atlanta scary yet. I think Atlanta's at the point where they need to just stop being an efficient, good offense that everybody's like, oh yeah, I don't want to play Atlanta, but nobody's scared to play Atlanta. I think Atlanta needs to get to the point where you're scared to play them. Maybe Stefanski gets them there. Maybe he just kind of remains status quo that they're going to make it the playoffs and have a mid to early exit.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Buffalo and Joe Brady. I mean, this is, you're promoting from within. You're getting a 9-year vet. I don't know how much Josh Allen had impact in this decision. I don't necessarily like it. I thought there were a lot of better candidates that Buffalo could have got, especially given the fact that outside of Baltimore, even with Baltimore, this might have been the best job available. I'll give the hire a C. I think they're going to be worse than they have been, though.
I don't know necessarily if they'll be worse. I do think they would have benefited from a defensive-minded head coach because you have Josh Allen. But you see kind of what happened with McDermott. The offense was very lacking, and the defense still wasn't amazing. So when you look at it that way, maybe they should have went with an offensive head coach. I don't have anything against Joe Brady. I think he's a great play caller. I think he's very intelligent. I think it helps him that he's familiar with the organization and, of course, the quarterback. And it definitely helps him who the quarterback is. I'm going to give him a C as well. I just don't know how much changes with him as the head coach. Kind of like you were saying, Dwight. The defense is probably going to suffer. I think the main thing that we might see out of Joe Brady is him going for more flashy pieces offensively, which is going to help. But do you fall into a hole kind of like we've seen the Bengals and Cowboys do, where their offense becomes juggernauts, but their defense can't stop anybody from scoring? That's my concern with the Bills. We know that can win you games, several games, but it's not good for longevity and getting into the playoffs. So, yeah, I'll give him a C.
The thing with Joe Brady is that he is a internal guy, right? Through and through, all the way. From quarterback's coach to offensive coordinator to now head coach. And so he's obviously their guy. They like him. I don't understand moving on from Sean McDermott, to be entirely honest. I understand he's not done anything in the playoffs, but he won almost 100 games and only lost 50. I mean, the Bills year in and year out were a very good team. I'm not sure I understand that fire. Joe Brady makes sense from a carrying on legacy standpoint. Offense is the best part of the Bills. These guys have been running their offense for years and years. What's weird is that I was just looking it up a little bit. I did not know that he, Mike Tomlin, and Sean McDermott are all William and Mary College alumni. That's weird. Actually, Sean McDermott and Mike Tomlin were teammates in college.
Huh.
It's just weird. It's a small college to have 3 NFL head coaches currently. It's a really weird. Right. Anyways, Joe Brady's a good pick. I mean, for what they need, but it's not it's obviously the guy that they view as the next step and the ownership really likes. I would not like it just because I don't necessarily see why they had to move on. It's one of those things like, we lose in the playoffs year in and year out. Yeah, but you're there. Same conversation we had with the Steelers last year. But you go 9-8 every year. Sure, yeah, you're not going 13-4, but you're getting in every year. Almost every year, you're getting in. Anything can happen any year. At some point, it's not the coach's fault. It's not the coach's fault that Patrick Mahomes was able to drive 80 yards on your defense in 4 plays. It's not the coach's fault that your team lost 37-10 or whatever it was, the Bengals in the divisional round and got blown out. That's not the coach's fault. The coach impacts the game, but not that much. That's the players not being prepared and ready. And that was the coach's fault. But players not executing. At some point, it's not the coach's fault. Same thing we just talked about with Stefanski and the Browns. And we'll see with Joe Brady if it was the coach's fault. I don't think so. No way a coach prepares his team to go 12-6 or 11-6 every single season or 12-5 every year, and then when he gets to the playoffs, just lays eggs. It's not something that happens to that extent. Yes, there are teams that don't win in the playoffs. Let's use Harbaugh as an example with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's the issue in the playoffs. I'm sorry, Joe, he's the issue. I'm not trying to press a button or anything. I'm just saying he's been the problem. And when he's even been healthy to play in the playoffs. And
I think he's been part of the problem. I don't think he's been the full problem.
Point is, I don't think Harbaugh was the issue. And whatever. But my point is that coaches get blamed, and it's a part of the job. And they're gone. Joe Brady is an extension of Sean McDermott. He is the guy he is going to be a Bills head coach. I doubt you see much change, if anything, other than appeasing the fans because the guy never made it to the Super Bowl despite making the playoffs 7 years in a row. That is what you're seeing happening.
Fair enough.
All right. So now that we wrapped up on the Bills, let's get into the final 4 teams here. These are the 4 teams that I personally would pick as my honor roll teams. These are the teams that I think all 4 I'm going to put in a fairly high regard. Even though there's a couple of these that I don't necessarily like, I think it was the right move. Let's start with the Tennessee Titans. I think Robert Saleh is a solid A. He's surrounded himself with a great coaching staff. Having Dable as the offensive coordinator is a fantastic move. You got a young quarterback. You've got an excellent defense that you can already work with. They're not losing a lot of pieces. I know everybody's like, Tennessee's a mess. I think this is a really good fit. This to me is one of the best hires in the offseason. I like this hire more than I like John Harbaugh with the Giants. I think Robert Saleh is going to do a lot for Tennessee and his entire coaching staff. Bald. Not a single coach has a hair on their head in that coaching staff. That alone, when that Tennessee sun is hitting that sidelines, it's going to be like Archimedes' death ray across the field, blinding the other team. You thought the sunrise and sunset in Denver was bad. Wait till you see that bouncing off Dable and Robert Saleh's dome in Tennessee. No, seriously, this is a great move. He's got a great staff in place, good defense. This is an A move. This is one of the best things Tennessee has done.
Funny you say this, Dwight.
I don't really like Robert Saleh.
Brian Dable also coached at William & Mary. So we are on a roll with that.
Crazy.
Isn't it?
That's insane.
Yeah.
We could have done a whole episode on William & Mary coaches in the pro.
I know.
Yeah, the William & Mary tree. Somebody's on YouTube.
We'll do that.
I promise.
Find out
I hope Brian Dable is as good of an offensive coordinator as you give him credit for, Dwight, because you're running into the Mike Vrabel trap with Robert Saleh. You're running into the trap. And that is you have no talent on offense at all, and you bring in a defensive-minded head coach. We'll see. Well, it didn't work for Vrabel. He had a very talented quarterback who developed mental issues because of how badly he had to put the team on his back game in and game out, and how much the game relied on him for a victory or a loss because he couldn't count on his team to come through. Tannehill talked about stepping away from the game after 2020. I don't know. I don't see why. Again, you have a young quarterback who needs all the experience he can get and who shows the arm talent to be successful, and you go and hire a defensive-minded head coach who's defense first. And he brings in a guy that I love what you're saying about Brian Dable. I didn't see a lot of success in New York. So on the offensive side of the football. So how can I say that he's going to be a good offensive coach? He might be a great mind. I hear all the time about how guys are great offensive minds. Louis Anarumo, great defensive mind. And then he can't play. Then when time comes, he puts together a 20th ranked defense. Well, I don't know. We'll see. It wasn't the right hire for the team. The team doesn't need defensive help. The team needs offensive help. The team needs both sides help. But the team needs an offense. Had zero offense last year. They couldn't score 17 points in the game. I don't see why hiring a defensive head coach is the play.
Let's see what Saleh can do when he's not on a cursed Jets team.
So, I think this is a great hire. I think that we have seen what Saleh can do, or Saleh, however you pronounce it, can do as a defensive mind for the 49ers. Now, does he fall into the trap that Josh McDaniel, Mike McDaniel, those type of coaches fell into, where they're really good coordinators but not really good head coaches? For that reason that you said, Dwight, I'm going to give Saleh the benefit of the doubt because he did head coach for the Jets, where coaches go to die. I do like the Daboll hire. I do, however, think Daboll is one of those coaches, like the Josh McDaniels. I think as long as he's in his lane, he does an amazing job coaching. But when he gets too much responsibility on his plate, head coaching-wise, that's when you don't see as much success. I think he will be right at home here. They do need to restructure offensively. They've got a quarterback I think they can work with. They need to protect him, get the running game going, and give him some targets. Defensively, I think Saleh can work with this. I'm going to give this a B+. Not quite A range for me, but a solid B+. And we'll see what happens. This could be a year or two thing.
All right, so let's move on to the Las Vegas Raiders. They got Super Bowl champion offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak. Clint brings a Shanahan light offense to the Oakland Raiders. I think more importantly, I think this is somebody that can bring a lot of a young culture to the Raiders. And maybe this is the right step for Oakland or for Las Vegas to step away from ownership, considering their recent shifts over the last 2 years, from ownership really fumbling the football with everything. I don't know if they draft Mendoza. That's where I'm iffy. I don't know if Mendoza goes to Oakland or not at this point, or with the Raiders. But I do like Kubiak with Las Vegas. I think this is what they needed. I think he'll be a long-term coach. I don't think this is next year turnaround. But you know what? If the trend follows Kubiak, any player on the Raiders offense will be a fantasy gold mine, because Clint Kubiak's boys always put up big fantasy numbers, whether they win the game or not. So you could look at Oakland from another standpoint next year. They're in a tough division. I don't think this is one of those, oh, look at the Miracle Raiders. But I like where they might be in 3 or 4 years, and I'll probably be cussing Kubiak before too long. and wish he wasn't there. I give this an A minus.
So with Kubiak, he is another one of those legacy player or coaches, son of Gary Kubiak, who is an amazing coach, brilliant mind. It's funny. There's a trend with all these young coaches. They're all extremely creative. I'm just picture a world like 15 years from now in the NFL where it's more like banana ball, and they're doing all these tricks and stuff. But yeah, right now, what he is walking into is not beautiful. They have some pieces. You got Brock Bowers. That's it, because Matt Crosby's probably gone.
You got Genty.
Yeah, you got Genty. But again, we haven't seen success from him, wild success, because I think of what's around him. We'll see how this goes. The good news for Vegas is they have a lot of money to play with. So we'll see what they can do. I think he's, like I said, a very creative, smart offensive mind, and I think he can have success. So I'm going to give Kubiak a B minus, and it's because there's some hope with that dumpster fire with the amount of money he has to spend to rebuild that roster up. So yeah, B minus for Kubiak. I haven't given anything the A range the whole day or night.
It's TBD for
There
me.
we go, Collin.
I think there's just not enough information out there. Like John said, there's so much uncertainty with the Oakland with the Las Vegas roster looks like next year. I would just have to wait. I mean, you're right. He's a creative mind. There's so much that could go right or wrong with the roster going into next year. The good news is he has the ability to mold it, hopefully. I mean, depending on what the ownership's kind of done. And, they have first overall pick. I don't know why. I guess you have to go to get a quarterback. But I just don't think Mendoza is going to translate. I think that'd be a mistake of a first-round pick. But what do I know? I'm not a national scout. So, I don't think there's enough information for what the Raiders team's going to look like next year yet. I think it's hard to make a decision on how somebody's going to turn out or what the grade looks like when there's so much uncertainty up there as far as what the team's going to look like on paper. So I think it's TBD on Kubiak.
Wait, let's rewind that for a second. So you're saying you're not a scout? Because you totally put that on your resume for the podcast.
What I meant was,
We'll have to talk after the show.
what I meant was, hold on. I put words in my mouth.
All right, so Collin's going to cop out and not give us a grade on Kubiak. No, didn't pull him in. All right, let's talk about the remaining two here, and let's talk about the New York Football Giants. Let's talk about John Harbaugh. I've already kind of spoiled my grades for this. This one gets another A. I like this pairing. I like Harbaugh. I like the experience that he brings. I think it's good for him. It's going to be exciting. Sometimes you get so burnt out in a position you're in the same old. I think maybe that's where Harbaugh was at. It probably just came a point where it was mundane. You can look at his press conferences now up in New York. There's a little more pep in his step. He's a little more excited than he has been up at the podium. I like seeing that. I think he'll be good for Jackson Dart. I don't know how long Scatabo will play next year before he's injured again. I don't know if him being Ram Man is just going to be this thing that continuously gets him hurt, or if he's going to be a real deal running back and actually propel their offense to where they can do something. But I like the quarterback. I like the receivers. They got a lot of good pieces on defense. If Harbaugh wouldn't have went here, this is firmly where I think Vance Joseph would have been, was the New York Giants. I give John Harbaugh a solid A. I think the Giants probably win 3 to 4 more games than they did last year in his first season.
Yeah, I like Harbaugh. I'll let John go last, I suppose, with obviously being his previous coach. I like Harbaugh. I think he's a good coach. I think a coach that has bona fide success is something that the Giants haven't had for a long time. I'd like to see how it translates. Again, like you said, Scatabo is a walking CTE machine. So hopefully he gets some good games out of him. And Jackson Dart, I'm still not sure what he has in Jackson Dart. But the team's going to play hard. And any team that has Wan'Dale Robinson catching passes is a team that I'm a fan of.
I like what Frankfurt boy. Got it. Hey, he had a good season last year for where he's at.
He did.
For growing up in Frankfort, Kentucky, it was a really damn good season.
I like the hire. I'm not giving grades out, I guess, to most of these, but I do like the hire. I think that it's a strong hire. I think that a coach with experience and experience with success when it was just time to move on. Also, the only coach in NFL history to go to 5 straight playoff year, at least when he started coaching the Ravens, go to the playoffs 5 years in a row. First coach in NFL history to do that first 5 years of the team. The Giants, obviously, hopefully he replicates that. It's been a long time since Giants fans had something to cheer about. And at least you're bringing a head coach with a winning history. Yeah, it was time to move on from Baltimore, but he has a winning history.
All right. So I will go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off. I'm giving John Harbaugh an A-. This is my first A. So he is going to make this organization relevant. He's got pieces. He's not going into a dumpster fire. He has got some good young talent on that team with Dart, Scatabo, Neighbors, players like that. The defense isn't awful. They've got really good defensive front. They just need some motivation. The special teams probably looking a lot better this year too because he's a special teams minded coach. No, he's going to make them relevant. This is a team you can probably expect to be seeing in the playoffs at least within a year. If not this season coming up, I think if players stay healthy, that's a possibility. However, the reason he doesn't have an A or A+ is because of playoff success. Now, the man has won playoff games. Don't get me wrong. He's a Super Bowl winner. Again, he's in the A range. However, the reason I can't blame all the playoff woes on Lamar is because it has been an issue since before Lamar. John Harbaugh blowing leads isn't a Lamar thing. John Harbaugh just not being able to beat the good team in the playoffs isn't a Lamar thing. This dates back when we were playing the Steelers and losing to them every year in the playoffs, or the Patriots and losing to them every year in the playoffs. Honestly, the year we won the Super Bowl with Harbaugh was probably one of the more unlikely years that we would have won it. Nobody in the right mind would have picked the Ravens to win the Super Bowl that year. We just caught fire. That's all there was to it.
I believe you caught fire in Denver.
We definitely did. It was a miracle. I would say a mile high one. But listen, Harbaugh's not a bad coach. His problem is he's kind of stuck in his ways. He's an older coach. Like I said, he is going to make the Giants relevant. Mixed with his coaching and the talent they have on the team right now, expect to see the Giants going to the playoffs at some point soon. I just don't know if he is the coach who is going to lead them to a Lombardi. That's why he's getting A- for me.
Fair enough. And just so all the viewers out there know, the assignment for the night was to grade the coaches. So we would like for all of you, and under the sound of our voice here at Snap, Tackle, and Talk, to give each of the hosts a grade of how we completed our assignment tonight in the comments below. We will wait for your graded answers. Let's move on to the last team. This is Jesse Mentor. He went to the Baltimore Ravens. This is the one that I'm willing to jump out here and say this is an A+. There are already talks that Jesse Mentor is going to be coach of the year next year, and we're not even close to sniffing the start of the season. But this is someone that knows Baltimore's DNA. He's young, so he's going to bring a fresh point of view to the entire organization, but he knows what they're built on. I really like that. I like the hire because he did a good job in San Diego or with the Chargers. He's kind of plug and play with this. And let's face it, no matter who the coach is, Baltimore is a Super Bowl contender as they sit. It's not like it's going to take a genius to come in and get the juggernaut moving. But in the event here, you got one of the most popular coaches that was on everybody's radar. So that's why I'm giving this an A+, because this is easily a Super Bowl contending team.
Yeah. I will grade it. I will say it's an A, Dwight. You're welcome. I think that this is a guy that's familiar with coming in for Harbaugh
so much,
after they lose their job. He's familiar for being the bullpen call after Harbaugh's. He is also familiar with the Ravens. Why not just mix the bourbon and the Coke, Dwight? What's the rationale?
Because the Coke tastes good without the bourbon. The Coke does not taste good once the bourbon's inside of it. The bourbon tastes good without the Coke. I don't need it ruined by being in the Coke.
I think the Ravens offense runs itself. I think they've found themselves in issues year over year because their defense has given up 40 points in big games, at least the last couple of years. And so bringing in a guy who's a defensive mind, I think it was a slam dunk. I think it was a great hire. Not looking forward to playing him twice here. I think it's a good hire. We're excited to see how it turns out.
So, let me start off by saying I am happy with the coaching choices that we have. I think Jesse Minter is instantly going to make our defense better because his name isn't Zach Orr and he knows what he's doing defensively. I'm sorry. I love Zach Orr as a player, but he is not a defensive coordinator. He just isn't. I think Declan Doyle has a lot of high upside. I mean, the guy has been with Ben Johnson, Sean Payton. He's like a sponge absorbing all this genius. I'm not as high on oh my gosh, his name escapes me right off the top of my head. Defensive coordinator. He was our assistant coach and went to be the defensive coordinator for No, not the Chargers. Dolphins. That's who it was. Anthony Weaver. There we go. Got it. I'm not as high on that, but it makes me feel better because I know Minter's going to be calling the defense anyways, and he's just there to kind of run things. I'm fine with that. However, I would be lying if I didn't say this isn't a high risk, high reward situation. He is a first-time head coach. Even Declan Doyle is going to be a first-time play caller as an offensive coordinator. I do like the match. I do like the youth, and I do have high hopes that he is going to be like Mike McDonald. That is the big comparison because they follow the same type of coaching path, and they compare them to each other very closely. However, with the youth and with the unknown, I cannot Rick. Oh, Rick.
Good to see you, Rick. Hope all is well. And
yes, sir.
I think Brian Bosworth just hung it up. I think he just announced it yesterday.
Well, dang. With that being said, though, I cannot, in good conscience, give Jesse Minter higher than a B+. So that is going to be my grade for Jesse Minter.
All right. So there you have it. Our official grades are in. We've roasted the hires, we've toasted the fires, and we've probably offended every fan base from Pittsburgh to Phoenix. If you're mad about your grade, take it up with the win column in September. Because remember, we're Snap, Tackle, and Talk, better than some, worse than others. Collin, what do they need to do?
They need to stay football hungry, Dwight.
And get some.
He is going to be upset. You're right, Rick. Mentor is going to be horribly upset that John just gave him a B+.
That's my own team. I gave him a B+.
Shame,
The lowest
John.
grade of everybody. I mean,
Right?
jeez.
I would have thought that one would have been better. Folks, make sure you tune in next Tuesday night at 9:30. No, 9-ish. Tune in at 9. We'll be here. I promise. See you then.